Hello, welcome back. This is Miniature Mike, and today I'm going to continue my comparison review videos, and I'm going to basically do a sequel to my video I did a while ago covering CIS huge droids. This one's going to take care of the large war droids. The CIS has quite a few of them and some pretty fun ones to go over. As I've mentioned before, I'm a pretty big sucker for the CIS droids. I think they're really cool looking in the game, and then especially just in lore as well. So let's jump right on into these. So first one from Clone Strike is the battle droid on STAP. So this character is interesting because overall he's not that good, but he's got some fun stuff going for him. Excuse me. Just been still recovering from a cold I had a while ago, and just have some mucus in the back of my throat that makes it just annoying sometimes. Anyway, so HP on this guy for 16, having 10 HP, pretty terrible. So this guy's got bad HP, terrible survivability, terrible attack. Just like having 10 defense on a 16 is not just bad, but that's atrocious. Terrible HP. And then the attack of having one attack. Most characters at 16, you're looking at, 7, 8, 9 attack or something like that. And then one attack just doesn't cut it. So, of course, this guy needs the officer. This guy needs General Grievous. Needs a bunch of stuff to make him better, of course. But out of the box, pretty horrible on that front. Max damage, though, is actually pretty good. So this guy has strafe, of course, and he can do 30 damage. So those ones are pretty good things to kind of add on to that. So kind of jumping off of that, so special abilities are also pretty good. So droid, and of course that mixes with a lot of stuff with the Separatists. He does have flight and strafe attack. So the fun thing about this strafe attacker is most characters with strafe attack only do 20 damage, but this one does 30, so that's kind of fun to kind of keep in mind. And he has flight, and then also, so if you set it up correctly, you can go pretty quick, maybe get a lot of damage off, and then die almost immediately afterwards, so it's not too bad. So that's kind of a nice combination. So if you get yourself set up right, you can run, just kind of fly over a bunch of enemies, do a bunch of damage. Potentially, you'll definitely need those attack boosters to help you out, but that's kind of the only thing this guy has going for him. Kind of fun. Definitely kind of a fun little kind of gimmick there, but not enough HP and survivability to probably end up getting to do that, but it's a thing you can do. So the ability synergy, pretty good, nice damage, strafe, flight, not very versatile at all. For CIS score, I'll give it a 2. It's not that good. It's kind of fun, if you can kind of set it up right, maybe kind of keep it behind you, and if people get too close, you can kind of run it through, but nothing that's going to be able to be kind of like a core component of the army you build for Separatists. So it's a speeder strafe attacker, and I actually said I'd do a video at some point where I'll cover the speeders and strafe attackers, so I'll have to recover him in that video because I still need to do like the scout pilot, the bark speeder, things like that. So I'll get to them later, but I figured I'd put this in here because it is kind of like a medium Separatist character or a large Separatist character. So pros, high base damage with strafe. The cons, so got horrific stats, and then will likely not even get off a good strafe run, but you never know, but probably not. It's a bummer it doesn't have like speed 8 or something, but it is what it is. I don't think speed 8 even existed yet, actually. So next we got the Destroyer Droid, or Droidica. These guys are pretty cool. So overall, I think they're good. They're a bit old, but they still have a lot of good stuff going for them. So their HP isn't so good. So 40 HP on a 30 character, a 30 costing character that's ranged. That's not very good. Of course, that's kind of balanced out by having shields, but it would have been nice if maybe they had like 50 or 60 HP, especially 50, because then it would just feel a little bit more meaty. In case shield don't work, you can survive 2 20 damage shots. So I'll kind of put it there. So not great HP, pretty bad, unfortunately. The survivability with ranged and melee is both really good, especially because you have 16 defense, which is very solid, very reasonable. Then you have shields 2. So shields 2 is fun because it works on everything. Lightsabers, guns, missiles, grenades. It's just any time this character takes damage, which is any situation he could take damage, he gets to do his 2 saves of 11 to reduce the damage. So definitely a really fun power. It's kind of frustrating because sometimes you have games where it never works at all. Sometimes it works a lot. Sometimes it's 50-50 as intended. But overall, like, it's definitely a nice survivability power to have. And then in terms of melee survivability, you do have wheel form. So if there's a situation where you need to get out of there, this guy can book it and fly out there quick, which is nice. And the nice thing about wheel form is he can fly into a situation, maybe put him in cover, get 20 defense, and then before he attacks, the next round, then the shields 2 potentially can help him survive until he can maybe do something. It would be really cool though if this guy's ability allowed him to kind of roll into action and then start doing something, but I understand. So overall, his max damage is good. He does 2 attacks at 20 damage, double attack. Special abilities, I'd say, is pretty great overall. I do think having all these, they do go together pretty well. I think they do have good synergy, good versatility, just because you can roll into situations, you have the survivability to survive, or you can roll into situations, kind of get yourself set up, and then start doing a lot of damage, double attack. And then, of course, General Grievous and other characters can give you more modifiers to make you even better. But overall, pretty good base attack too, so don't want to forget that. The CIS score, I'll give them a 3. I think they're still pretty good. They're a bit dated, but definitely a lot of fun. And with all the commanders that have come out, you can give this thing twin attack and extra attacks. You could even, one thing I do like to do with these guys sometimes is to put them next to a bodyguard droid, because bodyguard droids have a lot of HP. And they're really easy to repair. You can use just like one of those repair droids that does repair 30. And if your shields ever doesn't work, then you can just kind of dish the damage off to somebody else, and then you can just repair that character potentially. So that's kind of a way I like to kind of work around it, so you can almost use the shields as much as possible and then kind of shuffle off the damage. So that's a way to kind of get around it. So specialties, he's basically a shielded gun platform, kind of pricey. So there's 2 of these. There's I'm showing right here the Clone Strike version, really expensive, probably because it's the unpacked version, and they look really good, really great looking sculpts. And then there's the rolled up version from Revenge of the Sith, which isn't as cool. It's not, it's also rare like the other one is. It's just not as cool looking, and I think that's why it's a lot cheaper. You can get those ones for like $20, whereas these guys are like $55, $60, really expensive. And if you can pick up 1 or 2, definitely go for it if you can. So these guys, they're pros. They got solid stats. They really do got solid stats, except that HP is not so great. You can zoom into position, you can survive for a second, shields is nice, but the cons, underwhelming HP, and then it was a lot better at release, honestly. Like back in the day, before, when you just had like Clone Strike and Revenge of the Sith, these things are pretty sweet. Like these things were kind of a menace, whereas as other things came out, commander effects did help them a lot, but they really don't have enough HP, unfortunately. But there's things you can do about it, and they're pretty fun. So let's kind of move on. These guys, I say, are really similar in some ways to the Sith Assault Droids. Similar in stats, but the Sith Assault Droid actually has more HP, which is nice, because then the shields too can be more useful. And then they also have Flamethrower as well, but they don't have wheel form, so that's kind of a trade-off. I think I actually do prefer the Sith Assault Droids over these, but because these guys are on Separatists, they got access to a lot more stuff. Next, we got the Dwarf Spider Droid. These things are fair. They're okay. Their HP's fine, having 30 at this level is okay. The survivability, though, is not very good, and this is kind of my rationale for it, is the defense is really low. You're already a little lacking on the HP, and you're a large base that doesn't have any extra, movement and whatnot, so I think awful might be a little bit too harsh, but I just think having that low of defense, you can just kind of knock these things out really quick, unfortunately. So I'm not a fan of their survivability. The attack is fine. 6 is pretty fair. The damage of 30 is pretty good. So it's kind of interesting how they're 30 damage, 30 attack. At the end of the day, I think I'd rather just use heavy super battle droids. They're very similar. I think they have similar amount of damage and HP. So, but it is what it is. They are cool looking sculpts, of course. Their special abilities, they just have droid, so of course they're going to benefit from all those commander effects the droids have to offer, which there is a lot. And then the ability synergy it's just, there's not really much to say here. It's just kind of fine all around. It's like he's just a droid, does 30 damage, decent attack, use it for a variety of situations, I guess. Kind of a clean slate. For CIS score, I decided to give it a 2.5. They're not bad. They're fine. I do like that they have a lot of damage that they can do, which is fun, and then of course you can upgrade them in a lot of different ways. They're not terribly expensive either, 15, but would be nice if they had a little more defense, maybe even like 14 or 15, but it is what it is. And then these guys are just kind of a generic war droid. They have solid base damage, but pretty crummy survivability, and I think they're just kind of unremarkable in general. There's other characters that do what they do, but better. Even though they've made a lot of new stuff that we'll get to, At least the Destroyer Droid has shields too, which is a really fun thing to kind of work around. These guys don't really have anything. Heck, if these things even had like a wall climber or something, that could be fun. So next we have the Crab Droid from Champions of the Force. These guys are pretty dang good. These guys, and even to a degree the huge crab droids, I think these guys are better than the huge crab droids because they're considerably cheaper. And they also have a lot of good stuff going for them. So their HP is great. So 80 HP on a 23. This guy can even shoot. When I was younger, I actually used to have this kind of Mandela effect going on where for some reason I assumed that the large and regular crab droid had melee attack. Well, they don't, but for some reason I just always thought they did. So this guy does not. So for a ranged character, it's got great HP. For the survivability, I think it's fine. I definitely think it's not too bad, just because, especially the ranged survivability, because he does have really high base defense, which is very nice. 18 is pretty good. Attack of 8 is really nice, especially momentum. It goes up to 12. And because it's a droid, it's very easy to upgrade from there. But really nice max damage. Kind of get that kind of rushing attack where you get 12 attack, 30 damage. Not bad at all. Make it a twin attack. That makes it even more fun. And then you have, let's see here, ability synergy I think is pretty dang good as well. The way that he has good stats, high attack, momentum, kind of good. Versatility's fine. I'd say overall, just kind of a lot of solid stuff going on here. I give it a CAS score of a 4. I think these things are pretty awesome. You got great stats, excellent stats. That's kind of one of the huge pro. It's a really solid rushing character. So if you want these guys to kind of rush down an enemy, it's easy to give them twin attack, and they can be really interesting, really kind of scary. Their only con is that they just are a single attacking character, and they just do 30 damage. But you can easily fix that. I don't think these guys have a whole lot of cons, other than just kind of having a larger base, but that's about it. Really fun characters overall. Next is one of my least favorite characters in the entire game, is the Octuptarra Droid. That's a hard one to pronounce. So we got some huge problems going on here. So these guys get a fair rating, which I think is actually kind of generous. I think they're kind of propped up by their Blue Milk score. So they cost 31, also from Champions of the Force. And their HP is horrible. I actually probably should have been more critical. I should have done the awful rating. So their HP is so bad because you're paying 31 costs and you're getting a character with 40 HP and doesn't have extra survivability stuff. So the Destroyer Droid, at least he's got speed, like a lot of speed. At least he's got, the Destroyer Droid has shields too. This doesn't have any, this doesn't have any of that stuff. This just has 40 HP and nothing. So this costs 31, and you could just shoot it twice with 20 damage, and bam, all gone. Nothing you can do about it. I really dislike these guys quite a bit, so I think their HP is terrible. They only have just 40, and nothing else to help. The survivability is terrible. Like I mentioned, there's no extra bells and whistles to help it out, and that HP is so low, like you're gonna be losing out so fast. Unfortunately, it does have speed 8, which is nice. I think that's another one funny thing is I used to think, for some strange reason, kind of like I said, Mandela effect, I always thought they had wall climber. And then when I got back into the game, I realized, no, it's not printed anywhere on the card. What were you thinking? That would have been nice if they at least had that, because they'd be really good. They kind of should, because in Clone Wars, you do see these a little bit. And I thought, for some reason, I understood that they had that ability to scale stuff better, to scale different terrain, but I don't know. The attack is also not very good. Having 7 attack while costing 31 is kind of lackluster. Their max damage, though, is pretty good. They do get triple, 20 damage, so you could do potential 60 damage. So that's actually pretty dang good overall. But again, you kind of have to set up. Got to hope that no one kills you in the process. And then your special abilities, I think, are pretty dang good because you at least have triple and you have speed 8. So I think that's a good thing it has going for it. I might be overselling it a little bit too much. So your ability synergy overall is, I don't think it's that great. I think they're just kind of more versatile because, sure, they can go fast, but their triple attack isn't aided by the fact that they can't stay alive very well. But it is nice that they have some mobility to them, that they can get off a lot of attacks. So the versatility is fine in that sense, but don't have a whole lot of powers kind of culminating into something awesome. So their CIS score, I'm going to give them a 2. They're just really lousy. And then the Blue Milk score, it's actually more favorable than what I gave it. I think they're worse than Blue Milk indicates, personally. So they're a multi-attack gun platform, not too expensive. The pros has triple attack, And then cons, it just has so little HP that's basically a travesty. It's bad base damage, just poor base attack for the cost, and then it's just a huge cost waste. Like, you know, the B3 Battle Droid, which we'll talk about, it only costs 1 more, and it's got a lot more going for it. It also has triple attack. And then you have the, like I said, the Destroyer Droid, costs 1 less, but it has some other, you know, has shields too, it has some speed, even more speed than this. So it's a bummer. I think they really kind of missed out here. They could have made something a lot better, a lot more fun, but unfortunately this guy is a huge dud. So next we get the Chameleon Droid. Just want to make sure I didn't skip anybody, because that can happen. So Chameleon Droid, these things are pretty sweet. So they definitely are balanced. They are balanced very well, in my opinion, because you'll see they suffer in a lot of ways, but they also have some good stuff going for them. So overall, great, like I mentioned. Their HP is fair, so they cost 26 but have 60 HP, so it's about right, maybe a little lower than about right. Their range survivability, though, is exceptional because they're one of the few characters in the game, actually the only character in the game that wherever they are, they cannot be targeted by non-adjacent enemies. Whereas some people have cloaked, but you require cover to make that, you know, activate. Whereas this guy, this thing can just kind of walk wherever you want it to, and no problems. So exceptional as the best. And then even if a ranged character approaches you, or if a melee character approaches you, they have to deal with -20, which is just a nuisance. It's annoying to deal with that. So when it comes to the melee survivability, you also have wall climbers. So this thing has the ability, and it has some mobility to get away. So on some maps, you can be totally unreachable in some situations. And when people do get up next to you, they may take some damage, and it'll be kind of tricky for them. So the key with these guys, don't let anyone get next to you. Maximize that wall climber, and then definitely use some buffs to do some more damage on your own, because as you can see here, you know, their attack is pretty bad. 6 attack is really low on a 26. That's not really going to cut it, so needs help there. Max damage is also poor. You're just doing 20 damage, single attack, whereas a lot of other droids at this level are going to be doing, you know, double, triple attack and so forth. But otherwise, I'd say the special abilities are still pretty exceptional, just because Wall Climber is helpful. -20 goes great with invisibility, and invisibility is just so strong. So because of that, they got great synergy. Like, all of this kind of caters around having this nice, you know, tricky to track down character, annoying to track down a character, and the versatility is also pretty solid, even though it doesn't have the best, you know, maybe shooting capability. The fact that it's invisible, you can do a lot with it. So my CIS score, I gave this a 4.5. I think it's the second best large CIS droid you can use. I think I own only one of these. Oh man, I need to double check. I hope I own at least 2 because they're pretty dang cool. So on Blue Milk, really highly rated. It's a stealth droid. So the pros, it has the best range survivability in the game, basically, just because it has invisibility. Nobody else has it. And then it can be easily upgraded to pack more punch. You know, you can get this thing so many different ideas. Twin attack, extra attack. You can get lots of extra attack in general. Better defense in case people do get up to you. So lots of fun stuff here to work with. Definitely well balanced in my opinion, because it does have pretty lousy stats. Doesn't do a whole lot. It would be kind of, to make this more broken, if you gave it recon, that would be absolutely bonkers broken. But it's a good thing they didn't do that. So either way. And then, so the cons, like I said, poor stats, kind of a lack of extra attacks, which is good. It's good that it's balanced in that way, but it is very easy to make it better. So anyway, that's the Chameleon Droid. Really, really fun character. Definitely a kind of a nuisance to have to deal with if you run into one in a squad, but they're pretty cool. And for all those you don't know, they're from the Clone Wars Micro Series episodes from 2003. So you actually probably don't see these too often. So next is my personal favorite, the B3 Ultra Battle Droid. I remember when this thing first came out, I was just like dumbstruck. I was like, I need one of those. They look so cool. If you've been following this channel for a little bit, you'll probably know that I've dropped this here and there. For me, the B2 Battle Droids are one of my favorite looking, just like droids, robots. Like, I think they just look so epic, look really, really cool, awesome looking armor. And to me, they just basically take that and then put it on steroids, and you get the B3 Ultra Battle Droid. So with this guy, I think he's great. He gets a 4.0 score from me. The HP, so he costs 32. His HP is 60, so that's actually not too bad. I think his HP actually, I think it's more of like a fair rating rather than poor now that I think about it, but that's not too bad. I think having 60 is fine, especially since he has damage reduction. It's kind of, in a way, it's higher than you think it is. So the survivability, it definitely is fair, just because the defense is solid, and then you have damage reduction 10, which is going to potentially, you could stretch that into maybe like 100 HP, 90 HP, and then characters who do 10 damage, they're going to have a hard time against you. Melee survivability isn't quite there. If someone gets on top of you, the damage reduction is going to be nice, but since most melee, I'd say a lot of melee characters you deal with will have lightsabers, that's not really going to come into as much of effect anymore. So I'd say the melee survivability, again, maybe should be a little bit higher than I rated it originally, but that's still fine. The attack is fair. 8 attack is definitely solid. Nothing wrong with that. Max damage is awesome, and the special abilities are awesome. So let's get into this real quick. So he has triple attack and 20 damage and 8 attack. So this guy can do 60 damage, no problem. If you mix him with certain characters in the Separatists, you can make that 6 attacks, 12 attack, 16 attack, and this guy is just total a nightmare to deal with as well. You got flamethrower, so if the situation calls for it, you can do some automatic damage to some characters and groups. Really fun. And then the missiles 30, again, if you need to do like long range group damage, you can. I'd say missiles 30 is a little bit unnecessary, especially if you put this guy with Worm Loathsome, if you put it with General Grievous, Droid Army Commander, because then you can have so many powerful attacks. You can do 6 attacks, 3 of them, and pairs. That it's not as necessary to do missiles anymore, but you do got it, and it can be helpful. So, and then let's see, what did I miss on? Oh yeah, density projector. That's not going to happen very often. If there's ever some reason someone wants to force push you, well, you won't move. So there's that. Otherwise, fantastic special abilities for what this guy does. So his synergy, I think his power synergize reasonably well together. At least the stats, they work together with it. Hard to take down, but where he really shines, this thing has awesome versatility. All sorts of different guns for all situations can survive. Fantastic in that regard, in my opinion. So CIS score, this one gets 5, my highest. I think this is an exceptional, one of the best CIS huges or larges in the entire game. Blue Milk is an 856, makes sense. So it's a versatile war droid. They're not too expensive to pick up. Luckily, they're only uncommon. And then the pros, they have every weapon for the occasion. They have reasonable survivability with damage reduction 10. Basically kind of they are the king of CIS larges, like I mentioned. And their cons, they kind of sort of low HP, but it's not that bad. It really isn't too bad. So, last but not least, it's the LR57 Combat Droid. They cost 30, so it's kind of that same range. These guys, I'd say, they're pretty good overall, but they really work best when they're paired with certain characters. So their hit points are good, 70 HP. That's 10 more than the B3, so that's kind of more in the average of kind of where you'd expect a 30-point character to be. However, their survivability isn't that great. They don't have damage reduction 10. 16 defense is still fine, but they don't have anything special to set them apart in the survivability department. The attack is not good. So having 6 attack, it's not like it's like terrible. It's a bit underwhelming. Whereas the B3 had fair attack and it was at 8. It's at 6, so it's just a little harder to hit stuff. The max damage, though, is exceptional because in this case, without modifiers, you can do double and twin, and you can do it all against the same person and move in certain situations. So that's 80 damage total. That's really, really, really good on a character that costs 30. So getting into the special abilities, got Droid. You have double, ambush, and twin. So against characters who have not activated yet, this character can move and can use all 4 of those attacks, and that's pretty fun. It's pretty devastating. I really haven't used these guys that much, to be honest with you, but I do like the idea of trying to build around that, so it's a lot of fun. The ability synergy in this case is awesome because you have the double, ambush, and twin. They all work together well to make a really powerful, really powerful turn. Their versatility, I don't think it's that great. I think the stats, especially the attack, is kind of lacking. And they're really just kind of more geared towards an ambush attack. The CIS score, I still gave these things. I thought I should still give them a 4. Looking back, I think maybe a 3.5 is more appropriate, but still I think they're a pretty dang good droid if you mix them with the right stuff. So their pros, they pair awesome with General Grievous, Scourge of the Jedi, just because that Scourge of the Jedi gives extra attack, +4 attack. And since he already has twin attack, you're not going to benefit from Droid Army Commander fully. But if you mix it with the other one, that means you get 6 attacks at 10 attack. And then at the Officer, of course, 14 attack against a certain, one particular character. That's a ton of damage. That's 8 attacks. Man, that's a lot. Holy smokes. So you could do, sorry, that's 120 damage. That's 6 attacks total. Yeah, so this is kind of what he's meant to. And they also came out in the same set, so it kind of makes sense. So they can dish a lot of damage on one unit, and they're very easy to upgrade. And their cons, they kind of have a weak attack for their cost, and then they don't have the best survivability. They don't have any modifiers, no shields, no damage reduction, like some of them often do. But at least it's not like the Octuptarra Droid, where that has only 40 HP and nothing. And then this thing at least has more HP to kind of deal with it. So I'm almost kind of surprised they didn't give it stealth, just because in the TV show, these things, they kind of were hiding. They didn't know they were there, and then they jumped out and ambushed. So it makes sense that they have ambush. It almost makes sense that they should have stealth too, potentially, but it's probably fair to not do that. All right. Let's do a final ranking. Last is the Battle Droid on STAP, and then you have the Octuptarra Droid. Personally, I'd rather use the STAP, because I think the possibility of kind of keeping one back, having all those upgrades, and then having it kind of run through an enemy that's trying to attack you, or if you get in the right position, that's more fun. I think that sounds like a more fun thing to try to pull off. Whereas the Octuptarra Droid, it costs a lot, and it's going to die like instantly, so not fun there. Dwarf Spider Droid is just fine overall. Destroyer Droid's pretty good. The LR-57 Combat Droid's really good in my opinion. Crab Droid, definitely nice stats for sure. Chameleon Droid's a lot of fun, and then the best one is the B3 Ultra Battle Droid. So definitely takes the cake, is the king of the large droids in my opinion. I'll leave this up here. Feel free to pause it, take a look, but this is kind of my final ratings for all of the CIS large droids. So across the board, you got some really fun stuff here, a couple duds, but for the most part, there's some kind of fun and interesting options. You got the Street Attacker, the kind of the shielded gun platform that has a lot of speed, kind of generic war droids, a rushing droid, ambush droid, stealth droid, so a lot of fun options here. So definitely, like I've said before, I'm definitely a big fan of the CIS droids in general. So I haven't done it yet, but at some point in time I need to cover just the regular, like, you know, battle droids, super battle droids, security, all those kinds of droids. It'll be a pretty big one. I'll get to that probably sometime later in the next year. But until next time, till then, please like, please subscribe, and definitely comment down below. What do you think about all these different droids? Which one's your favorite, least favorite? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? I'd love to hear your take on it. But till next time, have a good one.